Yeah, absolutely. So, it's with statistics and being damned by averages, to get a paper out, we did talk about averages. What was interesting though was the degree of variance, which we didn't put out on all of the data items. So I think in terms of what could be small horror stories was just how many people didn't record or had the incorrect forename. And a lot of those could be that they only knew an initial and just put in what they could. Because in our systems you can't actually have a blank field, so some people put stuff in just to make it work. So if you plan on using forenames in your matching rules for people going to dashboards, then that would be a poor choice or a high risk choice, because I think the worst case was something like 30% had them wrong. But equally, we didn't reflect how many you know bottom quartile numbers there were, or top quartile, depending on how you look at it.
Hmm.
But we had a lot of schemes with zeros, zero inaccuracies. So there's the good news, that it is doable. People can keep on top of keeping their fuel clean in their engine. It is possible. And then some of the, I'm hoping outliers, but some of the highest points, highest percentages were very disturbing. Um, I also think the other thing that might have pivoted a little bit is new things come along that make you realize that maybe data you didn't hold before now becomes important. So for example, if you've got a lot of active members, which are quite prevalent in this particular report, and you communicate them through their employer, you might not hold their home address, and that's probably okay for day-to-day admin. But if that member goes to a dashboard, they're going to use their current address to prove who they are. Current address information is going to come to you through the match. Do you have a pension for Chris Connelly? Here's his address, here's his postcode. And you just don't know it because you've never needed it for your admin service. So now you might need to think about having that stuff. McLeod highlighted a number of pension arrangements that stopped collecting some of the salary information that was no longer required. And then suddenly we have the age discrimination legislation come in, and retrospectively they've now got to go back and get that data. So data isn't just the fact that it erodes over time, but the purposes we use it for change over time. So there's lots of things to sort of keep on top of. But I do think, averages belay a lot of things. So there are some really worrying numbers out there, but thankfully they were in small pockets. I think our general tone of our report was we were optimistic. We found a lot of people already staying on top of it, and a lot of people that have clearly pivoted to start thinking about data as a tool, not a problem.